Hello, and we are live. Welcome to the Wooden Ball Show. I am your host, Dave Ball, also known as Blinson on Reddit and at Blinson1 on Twitter. And with me, as always, is Blake. So why don't you tell them where they can find you, Blake?
You can find me on Reddit. My username is btownbomb. And you can also follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is at ShattenMyKirk. Quickly, kind of my opening monologue here. Kind of wanted to do a quick little live spot here for a shameless plug, I guess you can call it. So I ordered my first Blues jersey this
Okay.
afternoon, believe it or not. A Ryan Miller St. Louis Blues alternate, yes.
You must really like wearing people who are not going to be on your team anymore, don't you?
uh, well, I happen to know someone else who really enjoys doing that too. Wink, wink.
I buy them after they already were traded. I don't
Oh,
go
yeah.
into it hoping they're not traded.
Yeah,
They're cheap. That's why I buy them.
yeah, yeah. But speaking of cheap, man, you know, there's a whole lot of websites and other places where you can get
Yeah.
hockey jerseys.
Yeah.
But you got to consider, you know, the quality of them, the price
Mm,
of them, the shipping of them. But I think I hit two out of those three pretty well when I looked at Hockey Monkey, hockeymonkey.com. Not only do they sell NHL jerseys, quality and authentic and premier jerseys and youth premier
mhm.
for low price. I got mine. Mine is a premier. It's not quite the authentic. Got
Okay.
mine.
Stuff like
Everything. The
expensive.
jersey, the taxes, the shipping only cost $132.
Oh, that's it.
So from the yeah, so from the NHL shop, I'm maybe saving about oh 30, 40,
Like
50
30,
bucks right
40
there.
bucks. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, the customer service, they're pretty good. They'll help you out with whatever you need. But
And
it's
plus,
gonna
we
be a
are
long 2 to 3 months for me. That's when it is expected to arrive here. But
it's gonna take that long,
um,
really.
oh yeah, but I have I don't have a huge doubt that I will not be disappointed. Um, I expect to not be disappointed, of course. I don't think I will. I
Yeah.
know.
It's always nice when you get your first jersey.
Oh yes, I know.
I remember my first.
Shout out to Nando at Nandini77, one of the Toddler Tuesdays hosts. He got a Columbus Nathan Horton jersey through Hockey Monkey. He got the authentic, and the quality on it, since it is authentic, it looks really good. But
Hmm.
he's had no problems with it. I have had no problems with it so far.
Yeah,
We'll
Hockey
just see
Monkey's
about
not that bad.
right. And
Yeah.
not only do they sell NHL jerseys, but they also provide you with hockey equipment, pads, sticks, socks, skates, all that. So if you're listening, check them out. Their web address is hockeymonkey.com.
And we are not sponsored by them. Just to let everyone know.
Yes, yes, this is true. Yeah.
Okay, I guess we'll go to the first topic, which is the NHL Quick Hits topic. Which will be there. There's been two things that's happened in the NHL recently. Kirk Mullen was hired. How do you
Yes.
feel about that, Blake? The Blues hired Kirk Mullen.
You know, it's interesting. The reaction from Blues fans is we are literally becoming the 99 2000 Dallas Stars. We get we
Yeah,
have
you are.
the head coach. I believe Morrow was around that. Well, I don't know. Um,
Was Mara
uh,
around then? I'll look that up.
yeah, we have Brett Hull back in St. Louis, where he belongs. Ooh, shots fired. Uh, yeah. Um, and now we have Kirk Muller. You know, I was really wanting a power play specialist
You're hoping.
for this job, specifically Adam Oates, of course.
Yeah.
You could make the argument that his power play was the way it was because he had Alex Ovechkin, but still think he was a very good power play coach. Now, while Mueller was with the Carolina Hurricanes, most of the time their power play wasn't all that great, but from what I gather from Canes fans, you can't really pin that one on. You can't really pin that one on Mueller. That was more the assistants. But of course, he's very familiar with Ken Hitchcock. He's very familiar with his style of coaching, with what he would like out of him. So I have no doubt that this will certainly not be a bad hiring.
He was part of the 1999-2000 Dallas Stars. Brandon Morrow.
Alrighty.
Played 21 games in the playoffs, so he was part of it.
So there you go. Literally the 99-2000 Stars. So does this mean that when we win the cup, we're gonna win it on a super controversial goal?
Obviously, that's how all
Perhaps?
goals are made.
Oh.
Either you can't find the puck afterwards, or it's extremely controversial goal.
I think you can find the puck that came off Patrick Kane's stick and Brett Hull's foot. I think they're in Narnia somewhere. So check there, Flyers and Sabres fans.
Yeah. So what else was it? I'm gonna you can probably say the name better than I can. Zenon Kanop. I can't even say that.
Yeah. Zenon Konopka, formerly of Minnesota and several other teams, but his last stop before Buffalo was Minnesota. I believe he was a free agent pickup. I believe he was picked up by the Buffalo Sabres during the last free agency period. But a bit of troubling news for him, at least, Dave.
He he's now banned 20 games for what was it? For violating the terms of the NHLPA Performance Enhancing Substance Program. So apparently he was found to have performance enhancing substance on him, and he was now banned from the first 20 games of the next season.
I find it interesting. Well, I guess this kind of topic comes up from this. I guess we'll go to the listeners for this one, Dave, and we'll see what the listeners think. Why do you think that you don't hear much of performance enhancing drug use in the NHL? We'll tweet that out. We'll let our listeners chime into that one, and we'll also get Dave's thoughts on that one.
1 second, I gotta figure out how to word this now.
Oh,
my brain doesn't work when I'm listening. Also, why do you think we don't hear about performance drugs in the NHL as much? I know there was a little bit of scare during the Olympics, wasn't there? Like, what was it? Nicholas Backstrom was found to have something on him, but that was like he was prescribed medicine or something.
Yeah, and the IOC is much more strict than any particular sports league like the NHL or NBA or what have you. They are much more strict with drug use, I guess, than all the other specific sports leagues.
I know they came out and apologized about it or something because they found that he did have a prescription and it was the exact dosage that was like in his that they found in his body as what the dosage he was supposed to have. But they kind of screwed up his team because he wasn't allowed to play that last game. And he's definitely one of the best players on his team. I forget what team he even plays on. Is he on Sweden, Nicholas Backstrom?
Yes. He is a native of Sweden, yes.
And he's one of their better players, so.
But I guess
Uh,
to the big question, Dave, why do you think you don't hear of players getting busted with PEDs in the NHL as much?
I think it's mainly because I don't know if our testing is really that strict about it, in all honesty. We need better testing in the end. Because with the Olympics, they test pretty hard for that type of stuff. The NHL, they kind of don't they do a randomized testing? I think it is.
I
So
believe so.
they probably kind of so it's probably easier to pass it because not everyone has to take it. So which is why we don't hear it as much because the people that are using aren't selected to take. So.
Couple of listener responses from that. At Peak of Good Living just responded to us. NHLPA and NHL haven't decided on a way to test for HGH, which seems to be way more common than any other PED these days.
That could probably have a lot to do with it if there's no way if they don't have a an agreed upon method to test for it.
hmm And at Miriam Inks says, this one is quite the colorful response, I'm say.
Yeah.
Because the NHL gives no fucks and is worried more about potential scandal and also good Canadian boys. Hashtag lunch pail.
Jamish has also said because hockey players are better at hiding it. I guess
Oh,
that's kind of true though. Yeah. In the end, they are the ones that are pretty good at hiding it. It seems. But yeah,
yeah.
that all sounds about right. So.
hmm
And we actually, on your comment about the Canes power play, at Peak of Good Living has came back and said, wasn't all that great is a bit of an understatement regarding the Canes power play. Yeah, that
well,
was under the AskOHC tag, if you don't know where that is.
okay. Well, again, listeners are welcome to tweet with the hashtag AskOHC.
Yes. I have every single thing open on my browser, so I'll see them all. So,
Alrighty. Well,
so the
um,
next topic, what was it? If my
uh,
Google would load, it was yesterday's games, with the first big one, the
hmm,
Habs and Bruins, Game 7, with the Habs winning 3-1 to advance to the Eastern Conference Finals.
I must say, it was 3-1, and it stayed 3-1.
We actually had a Canadian team that could do it this year. They were able to beat Boston in the 7 round games.
Did you see Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper's tweet?
Yeah, yeah, I found that hilarious. He played that perfectly. Let
Oh
me pull it up
yes.
and I'll read it out. My internet can load. It was where is it? There it is. Shots fired by the Prime Minister. Great to see Canadian team finally take out the Bruins in Game 7. Go Habs go at Montreal at Canadiens MTL. Yeah, that's hilarious. He totally
Yes.
just kind of crapped on both Toronto and Vancouver in the same tweet. Uh,
Now, uh, let's talk first about the Canadiens,
mhm.
and and here's another question we could pose to the listeners here.
Okay.
We'll have many questions for you for the listeners today, since we are short on topics, and we'll interact with the listeners. It'll be fun. So this question I pose to the listeners and you, Dave.
Okay.
What were the keys to the Habs series win?
I personally believe it all ran through PK Subban.
Oh yes.
The entire that was if it wasn't for PK Subban, it would have been a completely different series. He played amazing during this series. He was everywhere. He was getting in people's faces. He was getting people off their games, and he was doing it while also leading his team and pushing them to do better. He wasn't. He put the team on his back and forced everything, and it was great. It was amazing to watch him. And I'd say the Canadians are probably regretting not just giving him a bridge contract because his contract's up this year.
hmm
He
I
is
think.
going to be paid.
Oh, I think. Speaking to that point on Subban regarding putting the team on his back and all that, there was a moment, Game 4, I think it was, the one that Boston won.
Hmm.
It was late in the game, and excuse me, and I believe Montreal was on a power play, I think, and
Okay.
Subban was
Oh,
near.
when he started jumping up and down.
Yes, he started jumping. He was calling for that puck. He was really wanting that puck, and then he gets his teammates' attention, gets the puck, and just rockets it past Tuukka
Blast
Rask.
it.
hmm
Yeah, you could tell at that moment this was his series to win. He
hmm
like at that moment you could tell he was going to be the difference maker in this series. It was gonna the offense was going to go through him, the team was going to go through him, and he was going to lead them to victory.
hmm
And I think if he keeps playing the way he's playing, the Habs might have a chance to win the cup.
which I think would be fairly neat to see. Montreal, of course, um, they're they're a history that, or excuse me, they're a city that is very rich in hockey history, of course,
Mm-hmm.
with their 22 Stanley Cup
24.
wins. Oh,
24.
24, excuse me.
You
24
haven't heard
Cup
that
wins.
enough?
um, but I think it would be neat, really neat to see, excuse me, to see just glory and to see another cup return to that hockey-rich history city that is Montreal.
Mm-hmm. And we had some replies to the question that you posted about what the keys were. Jamish said, not letting the Bruins get to them, that the Habs kept coming and didn't give them any slack, which is what I brought up a little bit ago.
I
They,
I
yeah,
think uh, I think Boston is a good team, uh, mainly because, and I'm trying to be very careful with what I say here. Mainly because they have their style of play, which is it's a very gritty play. You know, they'll make you work for your goals,
yeah,
um, and they'll beat you down and uh, just basically just kick you while you're down. Not literally, of course.
well,
Just
depends on who.
take advantage of your miscues, I guess. And Boston is just so incredibly effective at
Like getting
at
under people's skin.
yes.
And they just
However,
weren't able to do it at this series,
hmm hmm hmm
which is what
I,
everyone seems to be saying, basically.
oh yeah, and
Ari, yeah.
I think that I think that says a lot about the Montreal and Boston rivalry. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you'll see any other ordinary team just go into Boston and Boston play the way they do, and they just roll right over them.
Mm-hmm.
And Boston, with their incredible regular season, um, keep in
President's
mind they had
Trophy
a
winners.
oh yes, President's Trophy winners. They had their 12 game win streak, I believe it was at.
That what it
It
was?
was
Okay.
yeah, it was snapped by the Canadiens of all teams, beating
Yeah.
them in a shootout. So Montreal, you know, they they know how to treat rivalries.
Mm-hmm.
They look at Boston, they look at how they play against teams, they look at their success against other teams. Montreal rallies around and says, we're not going to be one of those teams. Um, we're going to really take it to Boston," and that they did.
Yeah, it's definitely something to do. And another answer that brought up Ari of the Puck and Awesome podcast. She brought up that she wrote true answers: Speed, Price, and Subban. She mentioned Price, and Price played great during this series.
You
He definitely
know,
was a difference maker.
you know, I think I think uh, Montreal would be a really good team to root for to get the cup, mainly because of Carey Price.
He's coming off an Olympic win. He's firing on all cylinders basically because of
Yes,
that.
and you've seen for oh um, the portion of his career when he was their guy. You see that he was still decently criticized by most a good portion of the Montreal fans,
Mm-hmm.
and there might be a few of them, who knows, that are still criticizing him. I mean, still having a lower save percentage than Tuukka Rask.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that might add fuel to the fire for them. Um, but I think a good reason to root for Montreal would be for Carey Price. He's already won Olympic gold. He's like Subban. I think he's also put the team on his back at times. And for him to cap off this season, this year with the Stanley Cup, oh, that would be absolutely incredible.
I just want to see Danny B get it.
Hmm.
That's the reason I want the Habs to really win because of Danny Briere. I love him, and I hope he wins everything. He deserves it with how much of a clutch playoff performer he is.
I guess if we're talking about the former player aspect, maybe I might want to see Lars Eller get a cup. He was traded for Halak, who was then traded for Miller. So I'm kind of like, yeah, you my boy, Eller.
Why do you love Miller so much? He hasn't coming back.
Well, that's um, well,
Yeah, that's why I'm not a GM, is it?
that's a different topic there for a different day. Couple more responses. Jordan at RYT, short for rhythm malfunction, says a couple things here. Shutting down the Bruins' top lines and aging depth forwards. And fucking Subban, don't you dare neglect my boy Subban.
We've talked enough about Subban where we're not neglecting him whatsoever.
Hopefully you've
I think
tuned in to...
the first half of the talk was Subban and him being amazing.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
what's his face? At peak of good looking, he also brought up they ignored Marchand basically. They forced him to take stupid penalties and get frustrated. And also Lucic, they did the same thing with him. They forced them to take bad penalties and ignored any type of gooning type things they would do. Even though,
And the thing,
Marchand doesn't really goon, it's more of Lucic that was
yeah,
trying to goon it up a little bit, but
and um, regarding Marchand, he's a good player.
very
Um,
good, yeah.
he's definitely, uh, yeah, probably a second line center at most. Correct me if I'm wrong, Boston
Is
fans.
he underrated?
You know,
I think I just set off a bunch of people there.
oh boy. Um, but his issue is he still does he still does
Stupid
not
thing.
very smart things from time to time. If he just learns to kind of curtail those, um, he can be absolutely phenomenal.
Hmm.
Both Lucic, on the other hand, and there was another kind of topic that was going around the hockey world um, regarding Milan Lucic. It was during the post-game handshake.
Hmm.
Um,
That situation.
yes, it is alleged at the most that Lucic, when he shook the hand of Montreal Canadian Dale Weiss, um, it was alleged that he said, I will blinking kill you next year."
Hmm. I don't know how to feel about that if it's true.
But
The
yeah, yeah,
handshake is a sacred moment after a series ends. It's commending the other team for putting up the other team that you fought for how many games. Every team plays their heart out, and you're commending them for it. It's supposed to be sacred shine of show a brotherhood within this NHL. And that what he did basically, if it was true, what he did basically shat on that,
Mm-hmm.
and
And
that kind of pissed me off.
the thing with that is, um, where was that intensity from him during the game?
Yeah.
It,
Well, it showed every single time he was in the penalty box.
oh well, but
But yeah, he definitely needed to show more from the game.
hmm now we'll kind of shift discussion more into specifically Boston. Now we're going to focus on, and we're going to present another question to the listeners here. Instead of focusing on why the Canadiens won, we're now going to focus on why the Bruins lost. So the question to the listeners is, why do you think the Bruins lost that series? Or not why do you think? What do you think caused them to lose that series?
Okay, it's posted. Now it's posting. There we go, posted.
All right, and we'll start with you and your thoughts on that, Dave.
What I think caused them to lose the series, it was them taking the stupid penalties. They weren't able to play the Boston game, and they took stupid penalties because of that. It's like when we watched Pittsburgh and Flyers a couple of years ago. The Penguins weren't able to play their puck possession game because they couldn't get into the heads of the other team, and it pissed them off. So they started taking stupid penalties, which is exactly what happened here. The Bruins got pissed off that they couldn't get into the Canadiens' head, and they just started doing stupid shit.
Mm-hmm. And I tend to agree with Jordan here when he says that the Habs shut down the Bruins' top lines.
Yeah, that too.
And of course, aging depth forwards. But their top lines, it was really the fourth line through a decent portion of the series that was putting up the goals for Boston, and that was doing most of the work. But if you can't survive with a very one-dimensional team with a really good first line, I don't really think there's very much hope for you with just a really good fourth line.
Yeah, definitely.
But I do think another big issue for the Bruins, probably heading in, maybe heading into the playoffs. Of course, they easily defeated Detroit there, but I think when they ended the Montreal series, that's when I think all their injuries from the regular season, that's when it caught up to them.
Yeah. Did they release who got injured yet for them?
There was a decent portion of, especially their defense.
Yeah. Dennis Seidenberg being a huge one being out for them.
Yes. And it leads you to wonder if Seidenberg was in that Boston series, perhaps Matt Bartkowski would not have taken the penalties that he did at the unnecessary times.
He might have been also he would have helped out Chara too. Chara wouldn't have been on there as much, I guess. Or is he paired up with Chara usually? I think he's usually paired up with Chara, isn't he?
I think so.
Yeah. He would have helped out, Chara so much. Dennis Seidenberg's a pretty good defenseman. I'm still very mad at the Flyers for letting him go or trading him away. I forget what they did, but for not having him stay on our team.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think with Chara, you look at what Chicago did to them last year in last year's Stanley Cup final. The Blackhawks were just game in and game out, just essentially, just absolutely shutting down Chara. And you looked at you saw the effect that it had not only on Chara, but essentially on the rest of the team too.
Yeah.
And that's one of the many things that that Montreal was doing too. If you were to look back on highlights or so from this series, you could see Montreal was doing a very good job shutting down Chara.
Mhm. Yeah, it's something you need to do. Their team does run through Chara, who is one of the best defensemen in the league. So,
hmm hmm Um, I guess a couple of responses. John,
yeah,
host
that.
of the Toddler Tuesdays, he said, "Hey, how about that Ducks Kings game last night? Yeah." Well,
Why don't you like us talking about that, John? What's wrong with us talking about this? I don't know what the problem is. Why do you hate us talking about this subject? For all those that don't know, John is a Bruins fan,
yes,
so he hates us talking about this because his team lost.
yes,
Which,
yes.
neither me or Blake have much room to talk about because we were both out in
Uh,
the first round.
uh, well, yeah.
Just getting that cannon fire
Uh,
that he was probably gonna fire back at us out.
yeah.
Yeah, and
At
then
peak of good living, feels like Montreal just outplayed them. Chara having a fucked up hand didn't help. A few Bruins didn't show up.
yeah, and then El Rizzi wrote, "Nobody poked the bear hard enough."
That's a big narrative for them there.
Yeah,
You're always warned to not poke the bear. Oh, but I think Montreal did much more than poke the bear. I think
they danced around it a lot.
I think they just ran it over with a car. Um, maybe not a car. I don't think a car would do much against a bear. A big
You
rig.
never
We'll
know.
go with the big rig.
Bigger.
Oh.
Yeah. So
All
I
right.
guess we'll go on to the next topic,
Yes, you're
which
you are
is
free, John. You are free to from
Happy
your
John.
sadness. So
So it was the Kings Ducks game last night, Game 6, and the Kings won 2-1, which now forces a Game 7. I think almost all the games except for the Wild Chicago have now gone to Game 7 in this second round.
yes, yes, yes. The three other series, both Eastern and this series, they did go to a game seven. The second round has really been a treat for hockey fans.
Oh yes, definitely. Not enough overtime though. Needs more overtime. Game 7 overtime. But Game 7 overtime is one of the best things to
Oh,
witness when you're not a fan of the teams.
oh yes. Mhm, mhm.
I know when it's Game 7 overtime and you're a fan of the teams, it's one of the scariest things you could ever live through.
You know, a lot of people joke and say that the Stanley Cup playoffs will give people post-traumatic stress disorder. Um,
Basically.
well, yeah. Uh,
We have a before we. I guess we'll talk about this. Then we'll go to the question that was just asked. So yeah, the Kings won 2-1, force Game 7. What do you think is going to be the difference maker in this Game 7, Blake?
it's
I'll also post
it's
that question.
it's going to be the goaltending, really. Um,
Hmm.
you know, Anaheim's goaltending. They've done a good job, I think, of in the first four games at least, they've done a real good job of keeping LA on their toes, using three different goalies in four games. Started out with Anderson, used Hiller, and then brought out
Yeah.
John Gibson there.
Yeah.
But uh, this last game especially, he didn't do so much well, and the Kings are uh, figuring him out a little bit. So
Yeah, he was an unknown person really going into the NHL. No one knew how he was going to play. Would he play one or two games during the regular season?
mhm.
And then, he comes in the first game and ends up getting got a shutout in his
Mhm.
first game in the NHL.
So I
So,
think it will be interesting to see who Bruce Boudreau, who he'll start in this game seven. If he's gonna, if he maybe still feels some confidence in Gibson.
mhm.
Um,
I think he's going to. He doesn't trust Hiller whatsoever, it
oh
seems.
no,
Hiller's on his way out, and Anderson isn't, a doesn't seem like he'd be a number one starting goalie.
No, no. Um, but yes, I do believe goaltending there will be the difference maker. Probably defense too, I think, because
Oh
I've
yeah.
said this many, many times with LA's defense and Jonathan Quick. If the defense is playing exceptional, so will Jonathan Quick.
Hmm.
If the defense is not playing so exceptional, you can expect much of the same from Quick. But
They definitely do live through their defense. Their offense, even though it's one of like the deepest offensive groups in the NHL, they don't seem to be able to score as easily as they should.
mm-hmm.
I mean, except for Marian Gaborik and Anze Kopitar, they've been lighting it up together. They're like what 1 and 2 in the standings right now for the stats, I think. Yeah, they're basically yeah. Points goes to Anze Kopitar and goals goes to Marian Gaborik, and Anze Kopitar gets the assist. So they've been pretty good together. So
Mm-hmm.
they're definitely going to be a difference maker in this series.
Mm-hmm. And Anaheim's defense, on the other hand, I think they still have some room for improvement.
Hmm.
Um, Especially if you watched last night's game. And I don't know why I haven't been paying attention to this much in the series, but now that I
It's
noticed it a
yeah.
lot in this game, kind of wonder how they did the rest of the series. I noticed a lot of turnovers in the defensive zone from Anaheim's defense in the last game. I think
Hmm.
that is definitely going to be something that they will have to improve on if they hope to win.
Hmm. Yeah.
But of course, and then their offense, both teams' offenses. Um, Anaheim's offense, of course, you have Perry and Getzlaff
Hmm.
uh, on that fairly
Pretty
good
far along.
first line, star first line there.
Hmm.
But I think you're also starting to see a lot
There's
more.
Smith Pelly is also on their line, so he's actually not that
Yes.
he's growing into his role, it seems.
hmm
Hmm.
And I think now you're also starting to see just a little bit of secondary scoring too,
Hmm.
um, which is always beneficial to have.
I mean, they do have Timu Solani and Saku Koivu that for there to back him up. Jakob Silverberg. I think he was pretty good when he was in Ottawa when it comes to the scoring. I think he was like on their top line or something there.
hmm
Uh, I know the names of the other three, but I just don't know too much about them if they're better at scoring or what. Patrick Maroon, Matayu Per. Oh, I can't say that name. Uh, yeah, I'm just gonna skip that. And then Andrew Kuliagin.
Oh,
I butchered that name too. Yeah, wow.
Matty
Yeah,
Perot.
yeah.
He has that excellent GIF uh, during his time in Washington, where he was, I guess, kind of doing a little dance on the bench, and they photoshopped him holding glow sticks. It was a good GIF there. You may remember Perot from that GIF. And the other one, Andrew Cogliano. Um, he's I would probably best describe Cogliano as underrated. But we'll read. I believe we have a couple of listener responses here. Josh at JEddington23 says, "Who scores more?" Um, how about that for some fancy stats, Dave? Oh boy.